Good morning, everyone. How are you? How is everything going? Today, we are going to start on the essay. I'm gonna admit. Um, okay. So, good morning, everyone. How are you? How is everything? How are you, Haya and Nuran? It's good to have you here
Good
again.
morning, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, thank God today the internet is much better. Yesterday was very bad. So you didn't miss out on much. We talked about divorce in Egypt, okay? And we talked about what we talked about before. You have one of the assignments, the article of Egypt Today, okay? So we talked about that. Yes. And we have quiz 2 on tomorrow. So you were here in the beginning of the week, right? So you know we have quiz 2 tomorrow. And when everyone else comes in, we will talk more about the quiz. Right now, today, we're going to talk about the essay. Okay, so I was looking on the Lenovo for the assignment that Mr. Alfar gave you for the essay. It's very interesting and nice, and we said that it will be due next week. Okay, so next week it will be due around, I think, in the middle or towards the end of the week. Okay, so I will tell you for sure tomorrow when. Um, I think it depends on. I don't want it to be too much work, so I think I'll make it in the end of the week. It's better for you so that you have work to revise and everything else. Today we'll talk more about how you're going to prepare for the essay. Did you guys work on it? Let me share the.
I did the layout, but I haven't really started that much. But I did the introduction.
Okay, that's great. So you did the introduction. That's really important. The introduction is the most important part of the essay, right? So and you did the outline. Okay, great. So let me just. What about Nuran? Did you start on the essay, Nuran?
No, I started on the layout only, but I didn't start on the essay yet.
Okay, great. So why don't we share right now the assignment, okay? So basically, it's the planning stage. You had Mr. Alfara. What is the scope of the essay? Reasons of divorce effects. Divorce in the USA. Okay, you can choose divorce in the USA, in Egypt, period of time, structure, main ideas you want to focus on in your essay. Okay. So basically, you guys did this right with Mr. Alfara. That's great. I just want to ask you what are the topics you will do, okay? And how will you go by? So do you remember? Haya and Nuran.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, it just cut off a little bit.
So what topics will you do and the outline? How will you go by it? If you can share with us. Do you remember?
Well, for the introduction, I was going to discuss all the topics briefly, my topics were going to be cultural acceptance, effect on the children, and the difference between men and women in divorce. And so my first paragraph was going to be discussing the family issues of divorce and how children are affected. And the second one would be the difference between men and women using government documents as proof and evidence.
Okay.
And then the third paragraph would be cultural acceptance. And then the fourth paragraph, like the conclusion, would sum up all and highlight the main ideas.
Okay, excellent job. What about Nuran? Excellent job, Haya. That looks like a really nice paper. Keep it up. Okay.
Also,
Nuran,
can you let Hiba in? She's in the waiting room.
she's okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, if you have any comment, please tell me. Okay. So we have Hiba and that's great. Okay. Okay, so Hiba, good morning. Today we're talking about the essay. Okay, as you can see, I'm sharing the assignment you have, Mr. Alfara. I just want to see what you guys did so far and what your topics are, your main ideas. And so, if you can share it with us, and it will be due by the end of next week. Okay, so good job. Hey, yeah, looks great. Nuran, can you share with us the essay that you did
Thank you.
doing so far? You're welcome. Good job. Okay, Nuran, if you can share with us what you did so far and your topic and everything else.
Okay, first, I will do the effects of divorce and the causes effects,
Okay,
and then I will do how do they affect the society,
great.
and then I will talk about divorce in Egypt from 2008 to 2020,
Okay,
and I will compare Egypt to the whole world.
excellent job. Okay. Is there something else you're gonna do, or that's the structure of this? Good job. Okay, excellent job, Noah. Okay, now we have Asma here. Okay, so Asma, we're talking about the essay is due by the end of next week. I'm just revising to see what you guys did so far, because you worked on it with Mr. Alfara, and so I'm sharing the assignment here with what you did before. So if you can share with us what you will do in the essay right now, let's see, Hiba. Hiba, can you share with us what you'll do in the essay?
Sure. So my topic was how the increase of divorce can affect women economically and socially, and that's set in Egypt and in the USA from 1990 to 2005, just to see how the time period affected that. And some of the main ideas that I had were to provide examples to compare how different divorce has been for women between the two time periods and the two locations, show what exactly might have affected the difference socially and economically, and then look through interviews or real life situations of women who were divorced in Egypt and the USA and how society reacted to that, like between the two time periods, and see just like the difference between that. So just having some variety in my essay. So yeah.
Okay, excellent job. Excellent job, Hiba. That's really nice. Okay. Looks like the essays, all of you guys, it's a great job. Good job. Okay. Now, Asma. Okay, Asma, I think her interconnection got weak. When she comes back, she can share with us. Okay. So, good job, everyone. It looks like great. I can't wait until I read them and we can discuss them. Now, why don't we today kind of confirm a date of you guys can do like a rough draft, and then you can share it with us and you can turn it in the on the Lenovia. So I'll post it by the weekend actually. So by I think tomorrow night. So you have it tomorrow night. We can post your essay, okay? And obviously you have time. So I will do the rough draft around maybe we'll meet Tuesday, okay? And then Thursday you would turn in the final draft. You see, so Tuesday, obviously the rough draft is the main one, right? So the rough draft you do, you write it down. It seems like you guys did a lot, right? So you have an introduction, you have the outline, which is the most important thing, and then you just have to sit down and write it down. So you have after quiz 2 tomorrow, you have the weekend until Tuesday, okay? So it won't be a lot of work for you. And then Tuesday we can by Tuesday you can, I think I'll make it Monday night, right? You can turn it in. And then Tuesday we can share it together what you did, and I can give you like some comments, general comments on different essays and how you can improve them or how you can make them more interesting, any comments or opposite how they're nice, okay? And you can keep it up. Yeah. So I was thinking that, and then Thursday you would turn it in. Okay, what do you think? Is that good? Yes?
Yeah, that's good. Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent. Thank you. Okay, so that's great. Okay, because I don't want too much work at the same time. We want to have a good essay and have a good experience and learn from this experience. Okay, great. Okay, so today we're gonna do a kind of review for the other points we talked about before for quiz 2 tomorrow. Okay, I will put the recordings. I will put them for what we had for this week as review. I will put them on the Renovia by today noon. Okay, so you have them by today noon, hopefully. Yes, if the internet is going well. So yesterday's session, unfortunately, if you weren't here For the people who are here, I apologize. It was very bad. We had to do it on the phone. It was only the last 15 minutes. But you have Sunday, and you have today, okay, and also Sunday and today, basically, okay. Yesterday was only around 15 minutes, but it's also good, okay. So we did about divorce in Egypt. Today we'll complete about divorce in Egypt, and we will complete about the main points that will be on the quiz, okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Are we going to talk about the quiz tomorrow?
Quiz tomorrow, you can have quiz 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it just going to be about divorce in Egypt?
Yes, divorce in Egypt and family problems. So basically on Lenovia, what it will cover is what we did before I was absent, okay, for emergency. So let me put it for you here. Okay. Okay. It's right here. Yes. Okay. So basically the make sure you do the assignments, right? Okay, because assignments will help you out on the main points for the quiz. But if you didn't do some of them, it's okay. What's important in worst case scenario is that you review the sources. Okay, so nothing new. The sources is family problems PowerPoint week 17 and 18. Okay, you have the notes from the sessions. So this is one of the notes. Okay, I'll put the other notes today also by noon, so you have them with you. And then you also have the family problems video and anti-divorce campaign in Egypt 2019. I will put the video that we talked about divorce in Egypt if I did not yet. Okay, good. By today noon. So you'll have family problems. You have the divorce in Egypt. Okay, the one we watched together before. I'll put it here. By noon, you'll have it, and anti-divorce campaign in Egypt. Okay. And you'll have the sessions. So this is the video we watched before also. So it's an anti-divorce campaign in Egypt and divorce in Egypt. We'll watch this video today for sure, just as a review. And you will have also the PowerPoint. Okay, the PowerPoint, I will share it when we review the main points to make sure you're on the right track. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so let's right now just to recap what we said yesterday. Thank you for the people who came. For people who don't come, it wasn't a good internet connection, but we talked about the main points from Egypt Today's magazine, okay, about divorce in Egypt. And we talked about the statistics, and also we talked about what are the main points of divorce in Egypt, okay? Let's put them on the whiteboard as a recap before we watch the video. Okay, so who remembers what we talked about divorce in Egypt, the main points? Divorce in Egypt, let's write down the main points. So what's the one main point from divorce in Egypt that we talked about before?
The men are more favored in government when getting divorced.
Excellent job. Are more favored in the process of divorce, right, in Egypt? In all aspects, actually, right? And particularly, we said in the law, right? So not necessarily government, but it's law, okay? So the law in Egypt, in the process of divorce.
Domestic abuse.
You're confused? What are you confused on?
No. Domestic abuse.
Okay, domestic, excellent job. Domestic abuse, excellent. That's a very good point. So that's a huge problem, and usually even people who work in the field of social work or psychology or therapists or even people on human rights in Egypt and outside, it's one of the hardest things to get, okay, because it's very bad. Usually family members are very scared from the person. Usually it may be all of them together, unfortunately. So if it starts with one person, it goes on. So the whole family gets it. And usually they're scared to say. Okay, so usually it's the hardest to solve, to talk about in the first place because they won't share it. So it is a big problem, and obviously it does lead to divorce. Okay, and it is a big problem in Egypt. You'll find that obviously families in lower economic levels, they have much more than in higher, but also in higher, unfortunately, for different reasons, it may happen, and it may be there. But as I said, in higher, it's even worse, right? Because society doesn't accept it. And usually it's very secret or private, and it's solved in a secret or private way if it is, revealed. Okay? So keep that in mind. Also in the research, if you want to go into that field, it's a very hard field, but it's very interesting. Obviously, it needs a lot of work, not only Egypt, but all over the world. Okay, so men are more favored in the process of divorce in law, right? Um, Now, obviously, in the government, depending on the law, okay, because the law in Egypt, the court law favors the man, okay, the civil court law, religious, cultural, and everything else, the Egyptian court law in general favors the man, okay, and also you have society, right, favors the man also. Usually, in general sense, it favors the man. Now you have obviously the different family cultures, traditions, neighborhoods, cities, and cultures in Egypt that differs, right? But here is society, law, and also government. Okay, but mainly the law. Let's concentrate on the law because it's the main power, authority, and decision making for family situations in Egypt. So it's not the government, it's not society, it's usually the law. So the law is usually what's sacred, what you can't change when it makes a decision on a family, and that's known in Egypt. Because that's a big problem, right? Because if it favors the man, that means that the decision will always favor the man. And so in that case, if you're a social worker, um, if you're a sociologist, a researcher, a psychologist, or in whatever field you are in the situation, especially in as a sociologist, you would make sure that to show how how women or how other parts in the family can get by from favoring the man. Okay. Um, okay. What is the third thing we talked about?
The rate of divorce in men
Excellent.
is less than women because they're seen as less responsible and not as emotional and dependent as women.
So you're saying rate of divorce is
Less of men is less than women.
okay, less that men ask for it than women, right? So the decision
Yeah.
goes excellent. Okay. Less that men ask for it than women. Excellent job. Okay. So women are more common, let's put it that way. Excellent. To ask for divorce than men. We said this is worldwide and in Egypt. Okay. Excellent job. That's a very good point, important point we talked about yesterday. Okay. Why do you think we said that the women are more? You said because women
Are more emotional than men.
women are more emotional. As well, we said that usually the responsibility, right? The primary responsibility actually of children, primary responsibility, this is really important, of children and family is on the woman, usually, right? Because in today's world, you have it either divided, or either the man has more or the woman has more, not necessarily the woman should. Okay? So this is also another factor, right? If in society and culture, the woman, should have the responsibility and is always, obliged and is always asked for and is in the center of responsibility, right? So if the woman, for example, is always blamed, is always, approached in negative approach on her responsibility of the family, of everything else, is different than obviously woman and man. They're divided. They don't have that culture in the sense of they don't have these ethics and values. what they have is that it's divided, right? They're a family, and they are they're partners in life, okay? They divide their responsibility, and there's no blame on either the man and the woman, okay? Because some cultures you have a blame on the roles, right? You should give love, you should give responsibility, you should give punishment, okay? Or opposite, you should get the money, you should get the work, okay? So that's for the man. But some cultures or family ethics or values, they don't have that. What they have is they have a kind of family culture where it's divided, not necessarily any kind of traditional boundary or kind of criteria or evaluation or criticism, right? And so the approach is very different here, okay? So you don't have that the woman should be the one with children and family and is always, approached negatively. This is a really important point. Or the man is approached by getting the money, getting the responsibilities, getting the support for the family financially, socially, and everything else. Okay, so this is really important, right? This is the traditional sense in the world, obviously in Egypt also, but you have from culture to culture differs actually. Sometimes it is different in that sense, but in other cultures or family ethics and values where the man and woman are divided actually, um, as partners. Okay, so partners in life as a family, they don't really criticize each other. It's more of a family. Okay, so there's no kind of this pressure on the woman on children and family issues, right? And so that's why when you have this pressure on the woman, it increases the factor that she asks for divorce. Usually people think it's otherwise, right? Because she would be weak and everything else. She has the primary responsibilities of the house and the family and children, but no, because the stress is so much on her when she lives in such a culture, when she lives in such a situation, to the degree that she wants a divorce. Okay, and usually, as you know, it's very bad on her in the end because um, you know she may have no other family, right? She may have no economic support other than her husband, which is very unfortunate, and she may have not a supporting family, okay? And so this is really common in Egypt. You find it in Egyptian culture engraved actually, if you in the movies and in literature, that women usually get the negative part of the divorce because usually the responsibility is on her, on the house, and obviously she has no economic support except her husband. Okay, and so you'll find from the time of 70s and onwards in Egypt, um, you have this really strong pressure on society for a woman to be independent, even in marriage, and for this kind of stress on the woman only for family and children changed. The same time for the husband only for financially changed. So you have a kind of more approach in society and in culture, although the law, it is argued, as you saw, it favors the man. Okay, and so the law is a big issue, but hopefully, there are efforts to change it, especially in the high divorce rate. Okay, but you have society and culture which changed a lot towards the woman to be more independent in the marriage process, and also to be a kind of family partnership, to have more of divided responsibility, not of pressure on the other. Okay, this is an important point to know because it changed a lot in social and cultural terms in Egypt. Before it was even more, like I said before, there was a pressure on the mother for the household duties for children and primary responsibility, which changed a lot over many years. So you find that there are a lot of efforts to make the woman more independent and the man also more independent in the sense of they divide duties and responsibilities, and it's more of family and partnership rather than cultural stress and responsibility, which was very, very hard on them. Okay, any questions on that? So do you see here the difference between having responsibilities, okay, due to cultural norms rather than family and partnership, which is very hard. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, as I said, in Egypt, it did improve in that level, but it does add to it. Okay, but as we said from before, the primary reason is that even in partnership and family, you have that stress because the woman is the one who gets the children. She's the primary caregiver for the children, okay, which is really hard usually in Egypt and in the world on the woman during work, right? She has to leave from work. She not only work, she has to leave really all her life for the children. Okay, that's by itself her friends, her life, her family. She has to focus only on the children, even her husband, right? So her life would be on the children for many, many years coming, and so this would can add negatively, and that's why usually women ask for divorce. Okay, so that's also a factor. And obviously, usually, if you are the caregiver, if you're the one in charge primarily, um, no one will understand your position, right? For your financial need, your emotional need, your security needs, and everything else. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Okay, so this is a good review for you. Yes, okay. Um, these are the main points for divorcing. Does anyone have anything else to add? Okay. Okay, so let us I'm gonna post this on the Novia. What we will do is we will right now look at the PowerPoint. Actually, before the PowerPoint, let's go to the campaign. Now, we said the divorce rates, yesterday we also talked about it, increased a lot in Egypt. And so Egypt as a state, in the parliament, in the government, in the law process actually, and in everything, in civil society and in human rights, and also social activists, and in the world of in the world of therapy, in the world of the social activists, social workers in Egypt, and women's rights. They are trying to improve the status of the family, improve the status of women, obviously, because women, like we said, usually in Egypt have many problems in the area of having a good well-being, having a good life in marriage, and also improving the status of marriage in general in Egypt, okay, because it has improved greatly the divorce rates, and obviously it's negative on society, on the children, and causes many problems. Okay, so let's look at the video, okay, and keep in mind, how are they improving it? What's the campaign, right? And do you think it's effective? So I want you to tell me if you think it is effective. Okay, so let's look at it. Okay, let's make it big. Okay, so can you hear well? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, so here obviously she talked about something very important. What happens to children after the divorce? They may become extremists, they may go into drug addiction, they may have many problems in society and cause many problems in society. So that's why She's saying it's very important for us to decrease the divorce. Okay, so here's a kind of different perspective. We talked about them before. Before we focused more on woman's status, right? And what happens to the family as a whole in domestic abuse in general and to the man and in the law. Okay, here we are more talking about what happens to society in general, as she's showing why it's important for Egypt and for other countries, especially in Egypt, to have a campaign, anti-divorce campaign. Okay, so here it's more looking at society as a whole. Um, what happens when the divorce happens to society, right? You have individuals like the children who may be negative towards society, as in they have divorce, they have drug addiction, they have extremism, they may be violent, they may be an asset of weakness to society. Okay, so this is really important. So it's a kind of different look on what we had before. Okay, so let's have something.
The video is not working. It has no sound and
Okay,
it's very laggy.
it's not working the video. Okay, great. Um, okay, so here what's important is that it's more towards society. Okay, so um, we before we talked about the video, but we didn't focus much on what is important from the video is more towards how divorce affects society, right? So that's the main point here. Okay, any questions? Because okay, great. Okay, so why don't I try to open up the video and see if you can listen. Was it's it wasn't clear, right? So let's see if I can see the volume. Okay. So I want you to focus on how it affects how it affects society. Okay, if there's anything wrong, tell me. Okay. Hopefully it will come. Okay, until it comes, what do you think of the campaign so far? Do you think the idea is effective? Do you think it's supposed to happen, or is it good? Or do you think actually no, it's kind of too much pressure on the family, too much pressure on the society? You believe it's opposite. What do you think?
I think the campaign is kind of new in Egypt and it's not like ever seen before, so it's like going against the norms. And
Okay,
so it's kind of risky, if you think about it. Like, I mean, you're going against a lot of people and like the law basically. So I think the people who actually like made the campaign are pretty brave for that and you know.
excellent job. I do believe so too. I believe it's that's a really good point you said. The campaign they're very strong. They it needs a lot of work, right? Efforts. You'll find it's a sensitive issue. Okay, so that by itself, getting activists, getting people in the field for many years, like we saw who they interviewed and also who they're asking, is hard. Okay, it is very brave of them. The obviously the people who co-founded and did all the events and everything all together. Obviously, it's a big number because it's hard. It's very very important. Takes a lot of effort, and it's a very hard process. And also, it's very brave of them to do it because, as you said, the law favors the man, and the law usually is very biased towards certain ideals and values, besides also favoring the man. So that by itself is hard. And also for bringing up the actual issue of divorce in Egyptian society, and also to decrease it. So usually people, in society, in social values in general, they don't accept that, right? They don't accept the issue that there is divorce, the issue that there's an increase in divorce. It may not be acceptable in the first place. So this is really important. And also, you go into issues that you never think about, right? So obviously, people who want a divorce, they have their own side and they have their own, debate. So that is very hard, right? Because it can be personal, it can be sensitive, and it can be private on that sense. Okay, so this is a really important point also. Excellent job. Any other point?
I feel like it could have like helped women like motivate them and help them feel more like their like what their life like it's more common than they think, and could make them feel like they're like not alone.
Okay, excellent job. That's a really good point also. So it touches their life. They're not alone. That's very important. And also that it's a support for them, support from society, support from the civil society, from the different, branches of society in Egypt, right? That's a really good point too. Excellent job, Heba. Okay. Um,
And also it will have they will have their own rights
excellent.
in society and other things. Um,
That's a really good point, Nuran, to have their own rights and other things. So in the anti-divorce campaign, you can also have, like we saw before, activists, showing the different human rights infringements and human rights discrimination, right, in the process, if it's for the woman and the man. Now, mainly in Egypt, it's for the woman, but also you have the children, right? Where are the rights of the children? Okay, so we talked about the woman and man mainly, but you also have the children, right? There are a lot of issues with the children, okay, with domestic abuse, with pressure, and obviously, like we saw, she talked about what will the children do in society. Usually they have negative effect on society. Usually they have a negative input on society, and this is really bad. And so society as a whole here is in favor of such campaigns. Okay, excellent job. So obviously the campaign is really strong. It's very important. And also in the campaign, usually activists, human rights activists, women rights activists, children human rights activists, and everyone else, and also for the men and also for the law, and everyone would come in, and each one will give their perspective. And not only that, it will be make the society aware of the different problems in divorce, right? So usually society, they don't know the details, okay, what's happening, or they make people aware if they are in a situation where they want a divorce, what are the other options? Okay, do we have other, positive options for us? Maybe there's other options for us as a family. Okay, and so this is also important. Do you see? So the campaign obviously is very important. Okay, so the video is not loading, so what we will do is we will make sure you watch the video, okay, as a review. And I just want to show you the PowerPoint presentation that we had before, just a quick review before we go. Okay, we talked about the different aspects. We talked on Sunday about the history, right? Family as a unit and everything else. Now, before we talked about divorce as a big social problem, and you have here the graph, okay? So make sure you review the graph and to see that this graph is between 2008 and 2010. Let's just put it here. Yes, okay. The graph showed us that actually the divorce rate decreased, right? Yeah, you have 2008, 2009, it decreased, and then it went up in 2010, okay? Now, when it went up, the common trait, as we said, is that women are the most ones that ask for divorce, okay? So they're the ones that mostly ask for divorce, and we said why, right? Because they're the ones are more emotional, they're the ones more responsible, directly to the children and to the stress of the family life, rather than the man, okay? In all aspects. Especially that if there's, if she has financial responsibilities, you'll find that she's very, very strong and aggressive for directly the family issues rather than lifestyle issues or other issues in the men. Okay, this is a common trait. So you find women, and we said this is a trait that's also common in Egypt. and all around the world. So it's a worldwide trait that women ask for divorce more. Okay, so you need to know the reasons, right, that we talked about, and that women are the ones that ask for divorce more in a worldwide sense. Okay, so this is for the quiz.